Welcome, guys. I'm here a little early, so I thought I'd keep my music on. Hopefully you can still hear my voice. I like this song. I don't know if I can turn it up at all. So we're here for the Tune You retreat session, number 3. And I've gone a little punk rock on myself in deciding to stream this on YouTube these last few weeks. I wasn't planning to do that when I designed this course because I'm also doing it through Zoom, but I just thought I wanted to make it available to you. So come on down, join on up, or probably you're seeing the recording. I'm figuring most of you are going to catch this later, but I like that I can create something you can listen to, watch, use later. So I'll just keep the music on for the rest of this song while it becomes officially 9 a.m. And I'm going to make sure I'm really checking the waiting room. Sometimes I've had people waiting and I don't see them. So I'll try to keep an eye on that. But today we're going to be doing things in the journal. So if you're going to join us, get your journal, your pen or pencil that you love, maybe something to drink. I've got my coconut water. I can always hydrate more. And I'm burning something. I still don't have any sage of any sort, but I have incense. And I feel aware that we can just decide to make something an intentional, even magical, energetic practice. So I'm deciding to use this incense to clear the space for us, clear the energy, open the session. And also, when we're burning something sweeter, we could figure maybe we're inviting in more of that sweet energy. Okay, I'm going to turn off the music just in case it's affecting your ability to hear me. All right, I'm back. So I'm here in my studio in Long Beach, and I think I'm going to put that out because it's putting too much smoke from my experience. So welcome. Now it's officially 9 a.m., so I'll start officially. So this is what I'm calling my Tune You retreat series. And I was thinking, what makes something, and I like to learn along the way, what makes something a retreat versus a class? And I like to look at that difference. And so what I've learned is what makes something more like a retreat is that it can be more of a space and a time for reflection, for going within, right? And for doing some processing, doing some transforming and some refreshing, some resetting. And so amazing when we get to do like weekend retreats, right? Or even day-long retreats. But here I am offering an hour-long retreat for you. And I decided with this retreat series, finishing up the year, and I'm calling it Tune You because that's my thing, to remind us that we're using these practices, perspectives, and forms of psychology really to tune ourselves mentally, physically, emotionally, energetically, and even spiritually. And that it's really up to us to do that, it turns out. And it's powerful when we do that, and even magical. So that's what I'm here to share. And so get comfortable, because it's important that you're comfortable. So I'm inviting you in for this session where I'm going to share some practices with you each week, which I've been doing. And if you're catching this and you want to check out the last couple retreat sessions, do, because last week we did do some things on the floor. We're calling this it all is forms of yoga, really, union, ways of connecting ourselves, reconnecting ourselves, finding ways to join more with ourselves, with the moment, creating that mind-body connection even more strongly, or working with it in a way that is working for us, getting more present, more connected spiritually too. So yeah, but sharing ways that I like to do that. Each week we've been doing some focus on some of the practices that I most want to remind you of that you might want to start building into your days, especially as we come upon this new year. Because something about the new year, right, gives us some excuse to see it as a fresh start. And I'm so convinced that our self-care is hugely important and undeniably plays a role in how we're going to show up and how we're going to respond to life, how we're going to feel, how our health is going to go, how our mental health is going to go. 100%. It's definitely one of my biggest interests lately, even before this pandemic, was concern about all of our mental health. But I feel like after this year, more than ever, I think it's really important that we're doing things to take care of ourselves, right? Because it's been hard. It might continue to be hard, right? There's no promising that next year is going to be any easier or more certain or less stressful, right? So in my mind, that's like more reason than ever for us to really get into what can we do. And a part of it, which I'm so fascinated with, is what can we do to take care of ourselves, to tune ourselves so that we can respond the best that we can, right? Feel strong through these challenging times. Be ready to be in a place of love, kindness, compassion with others, which starts with being in that place with ourselves, it turns out, which is a lot of what we get to practice here, is just that. But also just, yeah, here to remind you of simple tools like breath. Last week we did some breath exercises and some very, very gentle poses. So check that out if you want to catch that and get some new ideas for yourself. And first week was actually about kindness and compassion, and how that attitude with ourselves, I see, is the most potent part of the psychology that we bring in every time we use any of these practices, including today. So today, though, I get to share, I almost want to say these are my favorite two practices, even though I use all these things that I'm sharing with you every day. And we're going to be weaving in things like even moving our bodies a little bit today. And even right now, stretch yourself, move yourself, so you feel comfortable throughout and sit comfortably. But journaling and gratitude, whew, man, those practices are probably the most important for me, especially in my mental health. But since it's all connected, it also definitely helps me feel good in my physical health. It's helped me manage my relationships, both those things. um, Helps me really manage my energy. Those are both real strong energy practices, journaling and gratitude, energy work that we're doing with ourselves, for ourselves, to ourselves. And the more that we use these things more like every day and more in a preventative way, but it's not just using them when we absolutely need it, when we're feeling bad. If anything, starting to now think of these things to do. So that's the first step, is if you're feeling bad, starting to now consider things like getting in your journal and using things like gratitude, or like last week, getting on the floor, doing a gentle pose, using some breath tricks almost to change your physiology. Or, most of all, anything that helps you be in that place of compassion with yourself and kindness. So this week, though, journaling and gratitude, because they are huge for me. And I want to share more, though, why. And so if you're here, maybe these are things that you already do, or you've done in the past, or you think you should do, or you'd like to do. So I'm looking to bring some fresh pieces to you, wherever you're at in that realm, and just really share with you how and why I see these things work, and share some of my favorite ways to use them. So I want you to stay comfortable throughout. And if you haven't already, get yourself a pad of paper or some paper to join me for these things we'll do in a little bit. And so, though really we can say this is all going to be a yoga practice, because yoga means union, to join, to connect. So anything we do to reconnect us is yoga. So we're not going to do any poses on the floor, but you're going to be doing yoga, believe it or not, because you're going to be doing something that's reconnecting you. And journaling and gratitude are two amazing, huge, powerful ways to reconnect you, to tune you. But yeah, to practice yoga. I almost sometimes think about not using the word yoga in my descriptions these days, because I know so many people, even yoga teachers, talk about yoga as if it's only the poses. It's like, did you do yoga today? Thinking, did I do my exercises? And it's so sometimes I think, because yoga is almost so in a box right now, because so many people think they know what it is and they think it's just exercises, that I almost am like, do I throw yoga out the window as far as describing what I'm doing? But I also see, you know what? If I'm a yoga teacher, yoga influencer, and I've been teaching yoga for over 20 years, so it makes sense that I be in leadership here. That I'm like, you know what? No, yoga just means union. And I've been saying that for many years. Yoga just means to connect, to join. So yes, the poses are one of the amazing ways we do that. And I use some poses every day because of that. But also, I use other practices that I call yoga. And this is all in my most recent yoga book, which as part of this series, I'm making it available for you to get a free copy of that, a PDF of my book called Feel Better Now. But what I do in that book is share more about what yoga is, how you can use it as a therapy, and then listing my favorite tools of yoga. I think there's like 16 of them in there. So the poses are one chapter. The breath is one chapter. So you're like, what are the other 14 chapters? Things like journaling is one of them. Gratitude is one of them. Nature is one of them. Walking, dancing. I don't even remember what the other ones are. Mudras, mantras, some of the things we're doing in this series. So for this series, I just pulled some of my favorites. So today, journaling and gratitude, because they're freaking huge, especially to me. And journaling, I see, why would we have resistance to it, right? Because a lot of us, it's one of those things, just like meditation, and it really is a form of meditation as well as being a form of yoga. But journaling is absolutely a form of meditation. It's just like active on the page meditation, but it's the same thing. It's giving you a chance to be with yourself, listen to yourself as you're writing, right? Especially if you're doing it, giving yourself a chance to just write how you're feeling, how you're thinking, just letting it flow. So it's giving you a chance to look at those thoughts, be aware of those thoughts, let them out on the page, which is some of that energy medicine. But that can be painful, right? So that's one of the reasons some of us have maybe said for years we want to journal, or we even have in the past, but we're having a really hard time getting back in there. Just like with a meditation practice of other sorts, that's one of the reasons probably is because when we're going in that journal, we are facing our stuff. We are facing ourselves. We are probably going to feel our feelings more. We are going to realize what we're thinking, how we're focusing, what we're remembering, what we're worried about. And in some ways that can almost feel easier not to, right? Like, and that's why we might not find ourselves getting in the journal and or practicing other forms of meditation, because it means, yes, we're going to be listening to ourselves. We're going to be feeling our stuff. We might start crying, right? But here's the thing. I think most of us know now that if we don't do something to check out how we're doing, to get in touch with how we are thinking, how we are focusing, how we are feeling, if we don't get a chance to do that, then those feelings, those thoughts are going to start to take over, have a momentum, have an effect on our health, physically, mentally, emotionally, even our spiritual sense of connection, right? And so it is something that we want to pay attention to and have a say in, and know that there's a lot of momentum to what's happening with those things, like what's happening in our mind and our focus too. That's the other good reason, is because as yogis, even, we pay attention and realize, wow, that mind is so powerful. What we're thinking and feeling is so potent and creating our lives. So that is another reason, not only because not facing it, that avoiding it, even kind of like pushing down those feelings, right? We now know kind of erupts in lots of things. A lot of the time, our physical stuff is about that, right? Or our mental health struggles is about that. Just are not facing our stuff, are not feeling our stuff. A lot of us now know that more than ever. So our time in the journal is going to give us time to do that, like it or not, but learn to like it, because we realize that's actually therapy that we're doing with ourselves, for ourselves, to ourselves. It's helping us get in touch with, yeah, what are we thinking? What are we feeling? How are we focusing? What are we putting that attention, that so powerful attention, into? Because it is our most powerful tool, right? And whatever we're focusing on, we're growing. So it gives us a chance to just look at that. But right away, we bring in things like kindness and compassion and non-judgment as we're noticing and being with ourselves on the page, right? And we're also bringing in other tools like relaxing and breathing and letting it be about connecting. So that's some of what I'll guide us through when we get on the page here in a few minutes. But yeah, so that journaling sometimes have resistance to it, just like any form of meditation, because it means, yes, We are going to face and feel our stuff. But it also means as we face and feel our stuff, we're going to free up that stuff, let it go, stored trauma, right? All of that. So it's powerful work. It's important work. It's going to clear us out. It's going to free us up. And it's also going to open us up to being more in touch with what we're passionate about, what we're inspired about, what we're excited about, what we do want to do next, getting us more in a sense of direction with our lives. So the journaling can help us clear up that old painful stuff and continued painful stuff of life, right? That's not stopping happening. Life's not stopping being hard. And I love that. And that's, as I was looking up writing quotes a little bit to promote this, I came upon some Anne Frank quotes, right? And she's thinking about someone like her right now, especially in the pandemic and the time she lived in. And I saw quotes from her about how writing for her just to get on the page helped her so much, just like, I wish I remember what the quote was, but just thinking about that, like, so even for that reason, thinking about if we're in this pandemic times and things are feeling really hard and stressful, that it can be a way that we can kind of take care of ourselves and move through those feelings and free up those feelings. And just something about that expression is healing and transformative and reconnecting, right? And yeah, that's a lot of what's going to happen for you on the page is you're reconnecting, and that's where it's a form of yoga, because it's going to help you, yeah, reconnect more with you, with what's true for you, how you're feeling, how you're doing, reconnect you more with your heart, your soul, your truth, and also reconnect you more physically. It actually does bring you into the body. Isn't that interesting? And so it is also one of those mindfulness practices, brings us into the body, brings us into the moment. It's very grounding to get on the page. And also I think nowadays, because a lot of us hardly ever are even touching pen and paper, right? It's almost becoming archaic practice because most of us are on our computers and screens, which is fun, but there's something even more medicinal about getting on the page, I notice, for us, because now it's become even more special. So, and then it is like this huge manifesting tool, if you're into that when we write things down, is also because that's what happens in the journal too, is we start to realize what's important to us, what we do want to be doing, starting to create some focus, some intentions. And when we do that and we write it down, it like makes it that much more powerful, that much more gonna happen. And it's such an anchor for us. So there's so many magical things that can happen in the journal. And it's definitely a way that we can take care of our mental health, even going to really help us change and take care of our physical health, interestingly. And again, mainly because it's also all energy work you're doing. That journaling is energy work. And when you're writing that stuff down, you're literally letting go of the energy of those things. And even if it's other people's energy. So it's what all forms of yoga do for you. And then again, as you're journaling and you're doing things like using your breath while you're journaling, because you might get tension and tightness, right? And so there's such energy work that you're doing when you're journaling, and it's amazing. So that's why I'm such a journaler. And what I do in my journal, just to let you know, is one of the main things I do, which I'm not going to guide us through today, but I would certainly encourage you to do. And I started doing this, gosh, over 20 years ago through the book called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, which is like a really foundational book in my life. She has a practice called morning pages, where you're encouraged to each morning start, or it doesn't have to be start your morning, just at some point in your morning, sit and write 3 pages longhand, and just whatever is coming through. Just the goal is to try to keep writing and not pause. So it often it may just be like blah, 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 or even complaining about things or worrying about things or remembering things or making a list, or, it's really just process of just writing for 3 pages straight. And so for some of the reasons, it's like I've already mentioned, she calls it like a brain drain too. You're literally like getting to kind of drain your brain and just like release it onto the page. And of course, it's a form of meditation. So it's totally reconnecting you with yourself. And then also, this is a cool part, is as far as how it relates to your creativity, is it gets you better at just staying in, like, if you've decided to write for 3 pages, there may be a part of you that's going to kind of get you to stop and be like, oh yeah, maybe I don't know what to write next, and like get you to pause. And so it gets you better at not letting that's almost like your inner critic, right? not letting that stop you. So the practice of just aiming to just write for 3 pages straight. And for me, nowadays, I still often will pause and such, but I just make myself finish it before I move on to much else. So I write 3 pages longhand every day. It's part of my brain drain and meditation and therapy and magic on the page. And then the other thing that I always do, and then I might play more, because I've learned all sorts of cool exercises that you can do in the journal, like writing exercises from various authors on creativity, spirituality, vibration. So I've been studying that over the years, and I have all sorts of practices I like to play with, and I'll share with people in my retreats and such, because they're like magic, these practices. But I'm just going to make sure I don't have anyone waiting here. Looks good. Is I do some gratitude practices on the page. And so next I'm going to talk a little bit about gratitude and why it's so powerful. And then we'll get into some actual practices. Okay. So stay comfortable, keep shifting around in your seat as needed, stretch and moving. Maybe we could even relax a little bit more already, get into our breathing a little bit more, just even while you're listening to me. So I like to play with gratitude in various ways, but doing gratitude on the page is especially potent for some of the reasons I've listed or talked about earlier, that whenever we do anything on the page, it just makes it that much more powerful as far as how it affects our brain, our energy, and even can set things into motion in various ways. So the main thing I always do is a list of gratitude each day. Just thank you to the universe, to life, to whoever, say it in various ways. For I always make myself write 10 different things that I'm thankful for that day, trying to come up with new ones. Some are on there every day, like my kids are well, my parents are well, things like that. But I make myself do that because I know it's an important therapy for me. It really tunes. So this is start talking about gratitude, tunes my focus, right? Gets me thinking more about what I am thankful about, which is a way to hone my mindset, choose my focus, where I'm putting my attention and my energy, right? And especially as we're aware that whatever we're putting our attention into is growing more of. So as I write that list, it's getting my mind to however I was feeling. If I was feeling bad, worried, stressed, or happy, however I was feeling before I started the list, now it's getting my mind and my focus and my attention and my awareness to focus on these things that I can be thankful for. And then part of the practice, though, too, is to really get myself to feel it and focus in an energy way, even too, right? Or just letting it be something that I'm feeling, like Michael Beckwith says, feel it in your bones. but really looking to embody the feeling of the gratitude, right, is the practice. And so there's a couple ways to do that. And I want to tell you about that and share that with you. But I know that I'm using the gratitude because it's always going to, especially if I was feeling stressed, depressed, anxious, upset, whatever, before I start that list, it's going to start to shift that, because it's going to help me start to think more about what is well in my life, right? And we know how much what we're thinking is creating what we're feeling, right? Emotionally. And that is all energy. So it's really changing our energy as we're changing our focus with getting ourselves to intentionally, even if it feels silly, focus on what we're thankful for. And then when we do some things to really amplify that and really embody that more, it really does change our energy and our vibration. And all of that's also going to really start to change the nature of our thoughts. So all of that is really going to shift us super powerfully and energetically and vibrationally. And then also one of the big reasons I see is spiritually, if you're interested in that, because all the philosophies, all the religions talk about gratitude and appreciation and how important it is. And I've realized through different books I've studied and practices I've learned, why do they all talk about gratitude, is because, especially if you like to feel like there's like a spiritual vibe or a frequency or an energy or a focus that is more spiritual, or where God is at, or your angels or your ancestors or your higher self, that gratitude is that vibe, and the way that we could see that part of us, like if we have a higher self, if we have a true self, if we have God within, right? Or if we have a spirit team, or we have a God in the sky, however we like to see it, that we can start to see that that is, and this is where some of the mindset and psychology comes in if you want to adopt it, that God within you, around you, is in that vibe, in that focus of gratitude, is looking at you and your life like that, right? So as you do that, as you shift your focus, you're helping yourself reconnect with that part of you and that part of life. So you're helping you get in that more like spiritual, godly vibe when you use gratitude. So that's part of why it can help you actually feel so different so quickly. Like it physically can feel like almost like a drug trip to use gratitude. It's really fun and playful, but actually important. And yeah, so I'm like religious about my gratitude now. And then, of course, it becomes like a mindset that we can just be playing with throughout the day. And we don't have to be doing it on paper, right? But of course, what it's also doing is helping us just become more the kind of person who looks at life like that, responds to life like that. And that actually just helps us feel and function and flow a lot better, it turns out, for various reasons, right? Like I've already talked about. But yeah. And also if you're not spiritual and you're just into like what's going to help me be more functional in my focus, things like gratitude are really going to help us just be more grounded and ready to deal with life, right? And also, yeah, one of those things that's often when we have things in life that are difficult, it reminds us always, right, to be thankful. And so it's nice to just remember to be thankful before the hard things happen. But gratitude really can pull us up and out of despair and depression and anxiety and any of those hard feelings. So I think, especially during the pandemic times, gratitude is one that we can really play with and get into a lot more to really tune how we feel. Again, because it's tuning us mentally, tuning us physically, tuning us energetically, and tuning us spiritually. So gratitude's doing all those things for us when we use it, whether we do it on the page or off. And it's also starting to really shift our mindset and our focus and just how we think and how we focus and how we respond to life. And if you listen to many of the great philosophers and people out there, they will say that things like gratitude are what or the most important part of how they've dealt with life, right? So there's lots of reasons. There's so much talk about gratitude. And I know it's almost like we all have heard it, but I'm here to tell you it's more like on the playful side, it's like magic. And the more that we use it, oh, so exciting. So, yeah. And then you can imagine when you're combining though these two tools, journaling and gratitude, the magic amplifies for various reasons. Yeah, because it's helping us just lock it in even more to the mind, bring it even more into the body, right? Help it even more be a spiritual, soulful, transformational tool for you. And then again, what's so cool is this is something that you start to learn that you can do for yourself, to yourself. And then I would vote the more that you do it more like every day, the better. Some of us wait to get into the journal and wait to use the gratitude. We wait till we feel bad, which is okay. And it works like that. But you can also see there's a momentum to things because it's all energy. And so the more that we stay on top of how we're feeling and even use these things preventatively, just like I'm going to use my journaling and gratitude before I feel bad, right? Although I still will have days and moments of feeling bad, right? But I'm glad that I know ways now to deal with that, to feel through those things, right? Not to just bury the feelings, not to just jump out of it, to deal with it, to feel what I need to feel, but also to shift and feel better, right? And knowing it's because I'm doing energy work with all these tools. I'm helping my mind, my body is part of it, the physiology, changing the physiology. And yeah, a lot also just letting it be a spiritual thing. And then it's all just about me reconnecting, right? All of these things just helping me reconnect with me, with my truth, my heart, my soul, my sense of God within, my sense of God around me, whatever you call it, right? So that's why, again, journaling and gratitude, two of the most powerful practices of yoga union to join, to connect. Can you see that now? You feel me? Okay. Mm. Take a drink of your something if you need, and get into some practices, okay? Get your journal out and get comfortable. In fact, stretch, move if you want. If you want to do a couple different things to open up the posture, which can always be great and helpful because most of us, at least a little bit rounded, which does constrict the heart, constrict the breathing, even go along with more feelings of like depression and anxiety because of some of those elements. It's restricting the heart, it's restricting the breathing. So when we do anything to open up the posture, which a lot of the poses I shared do, because that postural therapy is so important, but it also is going to open up your heart, help you breathe more fully and easily, which is just going to help you feel better, help your energy flow a lot better, and some of that physiology that you can play with, it's going to also shift how your mind's feeling. And then as we're working with the mind, it's going to be shifting how your body's feeling. So there's like that loop. We now know that the body and how it's feeling is like affecting how our mind's thinking and feeling, right? And then how our mind's thinking and feeling is affecting the body. But we can start to now play with that, right? And be like, okay, then I'm going to do some things for the body to help it feel better, even just like these simple stretches and breathing and things. That's going to now help my mind start to feel a little better. And then as my mind starts to feel a little better, that's going to help my body feel better, right? So it's cool when we realize what's happening. So yeah, one stretch you could do, and you want to sit up nice and aligned for this. Be gentle with yourself. Stretch your arms out. And then, oh no, actually, sorry, turn your palms away from here. Stretch them out in front. And then bring your arms up towards your ears. Careful and gentle. Straight up. And just breathe into that. That's going to stretch, realign, and strengthen your neck and shoulders. Open up that posture, open up your heart. And you want to just breathe into that. Breathe into your belly, slow and long. Breathe out, slow and long, out of your mouth and nose. Or nose. I don't think you can breathe out of your mouth and nose at the same time. Good. And about 1 minute does the trick for that postural therapy. Stretch it out a little bit more, maybe look up a little bit. None of this should ever hurt. If it does, come out of it a little bit. Find a place where it doesn't hurt. That's what makes it yoga. Union. Good. Relax your arms down. Let that settle in for a moment. Take a slow, long belly breath here. Slow, long exhale out. Feel how that breath is such energy work too, right? We talked about that last week as well. Absolutely. Bringing in fresh oxygen, fresh energy. See that, feel that, helping you clear stuff up, let stuff go, stored trauma, all of it. Those exhales are so important. How about one more slow, long breath here? Good. And then one more to open up the posture. Be gentle. This one is some work, but it's a great one to straighten you out real quick. We're going to just interlace the hands behind the head, pull the elbows back, and just hold that for 30 seconds to a minute. Breathe into the pose. Relax all the other parts of the body. Relax your face and jaw. That's going to help relax the nervous system and the rest of your body. So all of our practices of yoga remind us to relax and practice relaxing because it's better on all the systems. And breathing more slowly and fully, and like we were born to breathe. Good. So about a minute with that one. We'll stretch, straighten, and strengthen you to sit up straighter. Should just feel like relief when you're done. Feel that and feel how you can breathe more even after just opening up the posture there, realigning you. And already we've done some amazing energy work, right? Can you feel the difference in just that? So that's where even if you just do a few things with any of these practices, you will see major differences for yourself in all ways. I'm hoping you're experiencing that here. So, okay, so get your journal out. I'm going to pour some more of my coconut water. And we're just going to do a couple short exercises. And then these are things that you could start to use in maybe like if you wanted to start having some, I'm really into morning practices because mornings tend to be our easiest way to get a hold of our vibe and our focus because we start with a fresher energy, some would say. If you're into spirituality, a lot of spiritual teachers and teachings would say overnight we got to reconnect more as we wake up, possibly more receptive, ready to be feeling connected spiritually, and more fresh with possibility in our mind, right? So it's really important what we do with our mornings and how we use that opportunity, and what we do focus on, and what we do put our attention on, and what we fill ourselves up on. So that means what we're listening to, what we're reading, what we're doing with our bodies. And yeah, realizing that those things are all practices. And that, yeah, now that I'm really just getting more than ever how it is mind, body, soul. So the more that we can doing some things each morning to tune ourselves in mind, body, and soul. So that's what I'm going for with all these. And what's cool again is all these practices are going to work on all those three for you. The breath is helping your mind, body, soul connection, right? The poses help you on all those levels. The journaling helps you mind, body, soul. The gratitude helps you mind, body, soul, right? So that's where, yeah, mornings. So hopefully that these might be some things you might do in your mornings as part of what you decide your morning practices could and should be. Maybe put together just like 30 minutes of things that you could do, you know, maybe 15 minutes of some stretches or walking or breathing and forms of meditation, getting in your journal a bit, right? Maybe listening to music, listening to audios, reading from some books that inspire you, and just deciding, okay, this is my morning practice. And, or maybe it's just like sitting with your coffee, staring out the window is a great morning practice, right? So anyways, a couple of these, let's get in the journal. So, but we do want to be relaxed and even being with our breath more, right? And using the slower, longer breathing as we do this, softening the face and jaw, getting into our senses more, even getting into our bodies more, hearing the sounds around us. So this is going to be a form of meditation, a time of meditation for us, right? And we're just going to be doing it on the page. And so, yeah, I think the first aspect that I want to share with you is I'm just going to keep it really simple, especially if this is at all intimidating to you or bringing up a lot of resistance for you to get in the journal for various reasons. So just this first idea that we could list, and we'll just spend like 2 minutes doing this, list some positive aspects of right now in your experience. Just let yourself start to list just some of the positive aspects of right now for you. And as you're doing that, again, make sure you're just comfortable in your body. Let yourself practice relaxing. Continue working with a slower, longer belly-shaped breath. Use those slower, longer exhales. And just letting that hone your focus as you just tune into just some of the positive aspects of right now. It could be the simplest things, right? Like just the opportunity to take this time for this session for yourself. Or the fact that you can take a smooth, full breath, right? Or that your loved ones are healthy right now. And if hard things are coming up, some things you're not grateful for, that's okay. And that's where you're also just noticing how you're doing through this, bringing in that non-judgment with how it's going. That even more like kindness and compassion. So you're just practicing that attitude with yourself because it's more connecting, right? And even more spiritual. But yeah, if hard things are coming up, well, I'm going to share an exercise to help us work with hard stuff on the page in gratitude. Great. Okay, so you can pause that and just kind of noticing what that was like. How did that feel? And even right now in between journaling exercises, kind of like we're between yoga poses, let yourself just kind of shift around, knowing that's what energy work we are doing even in that journal, even with that gratitude, right? And breathe into how you're feeling, exhale everything out. Okay, next up, we're going to do 2 more exercises. I want to just show you how you can really zero in with the gratitude. And also, I want to remember to add some aspects and remind you that when you look back at what you've written sometimes, or when you're feeling and thinking about gratitude, some of the things we can do that help amplify it that I've learned. And this, you could just decide this works because you're going to decide it works, or you can just believe me. Either way it works because of that placebo effect, right? Or just the power of our minds. So some would say, as you think about, feel about what you're thankful for, or even these positive aspects, you're just like, you could like put your hand on your heart as one way to amplify the feelings of gratitude and kind of bring it into your body more. And you could even right now look at those positive aspects and just kind of internally say to yourself. And some would say there's a power to 3 times, the power of 3. So saying something like, thank you, thank you, thank you for these positive aspects right now, right? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Something about saying it 3 times. And then again, letting it be something you're like expressing to something or someone, some would say makes it more powerful. So if you do believe in a God, a Jesus, your spirit team, your higher self, yourself, life, the universe, you could direct that thank you to that energy, that entity, and that can make it more powerful. Or some would say, because I'm still feeling out my feelings of spirituality, who I feel like I'm talking to, that like in the native times, they might even just draw a sun symbol to represent that they're, if you like, if it's like source or something, like they would do that kind of thing. So you'd just be like, thank you. And maybe just imagining that symbol. So directing your thank you towards something, putting your hand on your heart and saying, thank you, thank you, thank you 3 times. And letting yourself just like inviting yourself to start to feel it in your body more. And again, use that breath, use that relaxing. And if this all feels awkward and just lame or uncomfortable, then bring it in that non-judgment, kindness, and compassion with yourself. Just noticing that. Okay, so 2 more, and these are kind of like games, I like to say. Makes it more inviting, right? So exercises. So 2 more games we can do really with gratitude to use it even more specifically. So often what's happening in our journaling, right, is we're realizing some things like, oh, I'm really stressed about something, right? Which usually there is something in life, even if 99% of things are great. I'm old enough to know now that we all have something every day still that is probably feeling challenging, right? And side note, a lot of spiritual teachers would tell us that's a good thing, right? And that's what's growing us. And that's that contrast that's always going to be there. That's going to help us keep figuring out what we do want, keep evolving. So not something to get pissed or depressed about, that there's always going to be something that is hard in life. At every moment, every day, there's always going to be something that we could be worrying about, right? Or that we are, but it's kind of up to us to decide, right? How are we going to handle that truth? So I like that. First of all, often that's just helpful. Things like our time in our journal just help us realize that we're worried about something. Because often, I don't know about you, I don't even sometimes know what's going on with me, right? I might just be feeling some ways and I'm like, I don't even know why I'm feeling anxious or depressed or mad or sad, right? So that's where things like my time in my journal help me keep getting in touch with why and what's going on with me. What am I thinking? How am I focusing and what's creating that? But yeah, sometimes it brings up that awareness, like, gosh, like right now, maybe with the pandemic, I'm really worried, or this really sucks, or I'm depressed, I'm anxious, I'm scared, I'm sad, I'm all of the above, right? And that awareness, like, oh my gosh, what do we do with that? And so I love this is one of my favorite practices that we can use with gratitude that can be really magical. And I got this from one of the best books out there in my reading so far on gratitude is called The Magic, which is actually by the author who made the movie The Secret, Rhonda Byrne. And The Secret was also a book. And so there's a book called The Magic that's all about gratitude. And it's 28 days of gratitude practices that you can do like in a row. And it really is transformative. So I've done that book a couple times. I love it. And that's what's brought in a lot of these is like daily practices for me. So this one definitely comes from that book, The Magic, which I would highly recommend, as well as The Artist's Way that I recommended earlier. So this one, and it's fun because it references the Disney movie that had the character called Pollyanna. I don't remember if the movie's called Pollyanna or just her character, but she was known for having those rose-colored glasses, right? So maybe we've all heard that analogy, or it's maybe an older analogy, that some of us may just have rose-colored glasses, right? We just tend to see the world a little bit more sweet and happy and cheerful. And so this is called the GLAD game, but it's inspired by Pollyanna. I guess maybe in the movie, she might have talked about this game that she would play to kind of stay in her, I guess she was known to be a positive, happy character, right? With her rose-colored glasses. So this is a way to kind of bring in those rose-colored glasses that can be helpful, right? Almost like a lens of gratitude that can help. And part of why it can help, again, is because it's going to really help us shift our focus. And we're going to use this for something. So I want you to pick something right now that you're stressed about, that you're worried about, that you're upset about, that you're scared about, that you're mad about. So pick that thing. I'm sure there's something, right? What's one of those things right now that's feeling really hard? And so we're going to look at that topic and we're going to play the GLAD game within it as a way to shift our focus with it, right? Shift our feelings about it, which is also not only going to just help us feel better, but it's also going to help us attract differently, if you're into that reality, and really just reconnect about the whole situation, right? And make some great shifts. So this one's called the GLAD game. And what you're invited to do is make a list of 5 to 10 times you're going to answer what you're glad about within that hard situation right now, right? So with the pandemic, if that was the thing, what are you glad about within the pandemic, right? Well, I'm glad I don't have COVID right now. I'm glad my family's healthy right now, right? There's whatever comes through. So get yourself in and do that. Whether you want to do 5 to 10 listing things you're glad about within that hard situation. And so you're just writing, I'm glad that, so go ahead and let yourself do that and keep using the relaxing through it, breathing through it to make it even more of an integrated practice, right? And just kind of notice how you're feeling and doing through that. If you're noticing any shifts. Great. Okay. So I'm figuring you're getting close to getting some of that down. And then again, hopefully these are going to be new practices now that you can use, whether it's the positive aspects, just a thing to get yourself to do anytime, anywhere, to focus more in gratitude, or when you have something that you're stressed, depressed, anxious, upset about, you can play the GLAD game. And of course, this is something you can do in your head too, right? Just kind of get yourself to think or talk about in your head, or even say out loud what you're glad about within the situation. Great. And then, so notice how you're feeling and doing. Maybe look back over it, breathe and relax as you do that. Again, you're doing that energy work with all of this. So that breath's going to help you keep processing what you're doing there on the page and freeing up stuck energy, other people's energy, old trauma, current trauma, all of that. So use that breath, keep relaxing, stretch and breathe in between. And then if you want, you could add, I'm remembering there was one piece that Rhonda Byrne would suggest on this game, is just to kind of give you a little bit of a sense of maybe, I don't know, what's the word? Like you can almost like release this in a sense too, if you, especially if you're into a spiritual connection now, if you have a feeling that you have a God looking out for you, a spirit team, your ancestors, your angels, the universe, your higher self, your soul, or just a trust in life, right? Or the flow of things, whatever you like to call it, that you could write for yourself or just think to yourself, thank you, thank you, thank you, to whomever you like to connect with or whatever you want to direct that towards. Thank you for the perfect resolution for all this. And just writing that and kind of getting yourself in that energy of just being open, right, and receptive to the idea, even much less connecting with the perfect resolution, perfect solution for all of this, whatever this is, right? So that's the GLAD game. Hope you liked it. Okay. And then last one I want to take you through, because I feel like this is important. And I am so fascinated with how our use of these practices and perspectives in psychology, right? So now you can see that how we're tuning all those things with seemingly we're just talking about the practices, right? But it's obviously helping us deal with and even rebuild, re-choose our perspectives and even our psychology, right? So that's where it's all three when we're talking about yoga, and all of these practices are helping us with all those aspects, right? So where was I going with that? Oh, so one of the most leading up to this last exercise, helping us deal with relationships, right? Because I'm loving realizing how we tune ourselves, right, is going to really affect our relationships. And is an important way that we can help ourselves show up in relationships like we want to, right? And have better relationships and just be better in our relationships, right? And be more kind and be more compassionate and be more patient and loving and understanding and connected, right? In various ways, in our approach with our relationships, our response to our relationships, right? So this one helps us with relationships, which I really like. And it really plays with the power too of this idea that often maybe what's happening in our relationships has to do with our focus and how we're thinking about that person and how we're focusing on them and what we're focusing on in them, right? And then again, owning that whatever we're focusing on is going to get stronger. And there's a truth to law of attraction. So again, whatever we're focusing on, we're going to get more of. So with that realization, and that even just kind of owning that whatever you're even experiencing with others in a relationship also has something to do with your energy that you're bringing in, right? And again, like your expectation and really mainly your focus and where your attention is. And that's where I love to share that those are the main things we're working with yoga, is our focus and our attention. And so you can see where we're doing that with all these practices. So this one, helping us within relationships. So I want you to pick one relationship that's important to you, and maybe one that's sometimes or currently you're feeling a little challenged in for various reasons, right? But it's an important relationship to you. You want to feel good within it, right? You want it to be going well. And maybe you're interested in how can you play a role in that, right? Without them changing anything seemingly, although these kind of practices can bring out changes in others, absolutely. And that's because we're changing how we're focusing on them. We're changing how we're looking at them. We're changing what we're focusing on. So thus we're changing what we're drawing out of them, right? We're getting more of what we're focusing on. So if we start to focus more on things that we appreciate about that person, for instance, we're going to start to experience more things that we appreciate about that person, right? And we're really going to change our vibration about that person and really change the energy between us, and thus really change our relationship and help it be better, right? And flow better. And they don't even have to know you're doing it, right? It's almost like you magic you can do in the name of the relationship, but you're really just tuning you about that relationship, right? So we're going to do this relationship gratitude exercise. And again, I think this one you could do 10 things, but since we'll keep it a little bit simpler here. And again, I'm hoping this will be a new practice now that you might use every day, because there's probably every day someone that you could be enhancing the vibe of your relationship, right? With something like this. But, or at least when you need it, when you realize you're having challenges in a relationship, that you could think, I'm going to get on the page and write a little bit about what I'm thankful for about that person right now, without them changing anything. What am I thankful for right now? And so a way you could write this is even I got this one from The Magic too, the book The Magic. And she encourages us even to have like a photo of the person nearby as we work with this. And throughout the day to kind of look at that picture. And now we're expressing this gratitude for that person. But if not, you could just kind of think about them in your mind and write as if you're talking to them or writing to them, thank you, and write their name. Thank you for, and then answer that and write that 5 times. What are 5 things you could be thankful for about that person, in that person, and writing it as if you're saying it to them, right? And picturing them, thinking about that. And even, of course, the more you can feel about that, embodying it, actually literally feeling it in your body means like energetically you're moving into that vibration more and more, right? And yeah, that's what we're going for. So let yourself play with that. And just feel into that. And keep breathing, keep relaxing, stay comfortable in your position. Kind of a funny angle here. Keep readjusting my position. That's very yogi of me. Just listening to my body. My body's like, oh, I'm ready for a new position. So, all right. So looking back over that and just kind of reflecting on that, what that was like for you. And if it brings up feelings or thoughts or guilt or shame, right, because you've forgotten to focus on that or you've been in a different focus with that person, bringing in that kindness, that compassion, that non-judgment with that too, right? And again, it's just doing so much reconnecting for you to develop your awareness, right? And really choose your focus with things like your relationships because it's powerful, right? And part of it's just this approach, if you're deciding you want to be in that even like belief system, that how you tune you is really playing a role in what's happening in your life, right? Not only in how your body's feeling, of course, how your mental health is going, of course, how you're feeling spiritually, how connected or disconnected you're feeling, how connected or disconnected you're feeling from other people, too, though, is part of what we're talking about because yoga, union. So, ideally, the more that we're doing to help ourselves connect, reconnect, more like every day, more like starting our days. And again, that means mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, energetically, all these ways that we can tune ourselves and help ourselves reconnect. That's going to help us feel more connected to other people, right? Strangers or loved ones, and help us be in such a different energy with those people, whether it's our best friend, our boyfriend, our children, our partner, our parents, our workmates, right? So hopefully you now can see that you've got some new ways to help yourself be more in the energy that you want to be in with things like your relationships and your focus on your life, right? And yourself. So those are just some starter ideas. And I see we're just about at the end of our time. So how about to integrate our work? We one more time just stretch, move, let your body guide you how it wants to do that. Just recognize that we've done some energy work here. You're letting that settle in, integrate, use your breath. Let's just really breathe in to the whole body. Realize we've freed some stuff up. We've let some stuff go. As you exhale slow and long, feel yourself letting more of that stuff go, whatever you're ready to let go of, to feel more free, more relaxed, more present. Awesome. You could close your eyes if you want. Let's just see how soft and relaxed we can get. Maybe feeling more of a connection to like a heart like space or place. And maybe we even want to put a hand on the heart to do that. And just silently thanking ourselves for being here, taking this time, feeling more connected to our breath and our calm and ourselves. And how about we just relax that mind for a few seconds to quiet and calm it. Clear that mind with a little windshield wipe for a few seconds to refresh it, renew it. Open that mind, bring in images of like a clear blue sky. Great, and just feel yourself rooted in your body, in the moment, more present with sensations, still present with that breath. Slower, longer breaths all day long now. And that remembering to just relax again and again, soften, and just experiment with being here now more in your senses, sensations, and letting things like that gratitude be such a practice, such a place you put your attention. And even right now, let's bring to mind, bring to imagination just something, someone you're thankful for at this moment. And you could even try that internal saying to yourself, thank you, thank you, thank you, or saying to whoever you pray to, connect with, thank you, thank you, thank you for that. Breathe into that. Great. And yeah, adding a bit of a smile is always going to boost serotonin levels in the brain and help you relax even more. Awesome. Well, I'm so thankful to have you here with me. Thank you for taking time to learn more about how to tune you, and reach out if you want more ideas or that free copy of my book, Feel Better Now, that's out there with these practices and more. So here's to you all. Thanks for being here. And let's close our practice with that traditional prayer mudra and that word namaste, which reminds us we've all got that light within, that love within, that God within, right? And we're using these practices to help us reconnect with that awareness, right? Feel that in ourselves. And then to remember to see that in others, right? As we go out into the world. So that namaste, the light in me, the God in me, bowing to that in you, remembering that in you, right? Big stuff right now. So I'm so thankful to be here with you. Help us all reconnect with that awareness, right? Feeling that. And I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Thanks for being here. Namaste.